you. All right, Rob, the big news of the day, Karl-Anthony Towns injured. Now, we don't know the degree yet, but it's a medial collateral injury to his knee, and hopefully it's not torn. They're trying to figure everything out. But, yeah, Rob, this is terrible.
Stinks.
Minnesota having a fantastic year. They're tied for the top seed in the Western Conference with Oklahoma City. And their duo of Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns is fantastic. And then you got Rudy Gobert kind of rounding out the big three, Mike Conley. Like, they are a good team. And Karl-Anthony Towns catches some flack. You know, he's been an all-star multiple times, but I don't think he fully gets the respect he deserves. I think there's a few reasons. One, I think, Rob, he's now been in the league long enough where it's like, you know, you have a honeymoon period where early on, if you don't win, you know, nobody thinks they don't expect you to win, right? As a young guy, just show that you're a star, he put up numbers, and he did that. But then now he's been in the league long enough. This is actually his 9th year, and he hasn't really won big, hasn't had really deep playoff runs or anything like that. So that cost you some of your clout. So that's number one. And then number two is I think the Jimmy Butler episode in Minnesota. We know Butler's tough. We know Butler's a winner. And he just felt like not only Karl-Anthony Towns, but really that whole team in Minnesota. Towns being one of the foremost players there, and Wiggins was there. He just felt like they were soft. And so, you know, a guy like Jimmy Butler, who's really respected for his mental toughness and all of that, when he says that, or when he, you know, implies that, and those are the stories reported, then it can stick to you as well. But the bottom line is, whatever you want to say about Karl-Anthony Towns, Rob, he can ball. I'm not saying he's a top 10 player, you know, superstar, anything like that. The dude is nice, though. And this year, Rob, he's 22 points, 8.5 boards, and shooting 42% from Trey. Can also score inside.
That's a crazy number. Wow.
Rob, for his career, he's 23 points, 11 rebounds, and shooting 40% from three.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. Dude's a 7-footer. And so that's a big loss, Rob. Obviously, if they lose him for the rest of the season, then they're not. I didn't think they were winning the West anyway. You probably feel the same way. But they don't have a chance without him.
It's a big loss. And, Chris, that unit of Towns, Edwards, Gobert, Conley, and McDaniels, right,
yep.
Jabe, is only one of 5 groups that have played at least 600 minutes together so far this season, and it's only second to the Nuggets championship starters in net rating amongst those lineups. So it's a big, you know, like they had a cohesive unit. This is big for them that they're taking out somebody who always played. You know, we don't see that often. These guys play.
Yep.
And it's a huge loss. It just is. And I know injuries have always happened in the NBA. It just feels different now. And I don't know why it feels different. It just seemed like there's bad news all the time with people not being able to stay healthy. Why do I feel this way when I know people were hurt before?
I think it probably is the load management.
Is that what it is?
Because I don't think guys, NBA, I don't know that they're more hurt.
No, I agree, but I just feel like it just seems like.
But I think because guys miss so many games, sometimes they're not even hurt. They might say it, throw an injury out there, but I think that's probably what it is. Here's the thing, though. I think, Rob, as bad as this situation is, it's an opportunity for Anthony Edwards to really establish himself. Now, this guy is obviously a budding superstar. No one denies that. And on top of having a phenomenal game, like can shoot the three, can shoot the jumper, gets to the rim, incredible dynamic leaper and dunker, plays defense. Beyond all that, Rob, he's charismatic. I watched the movie Hustle he was in. He stole the show. This dude he's very likable. and he really could become a huge superstar. And what I want to see him do is seize this opportunity. And I hate to use that word because it seems like it's favorable. It's obviously a negative situation, but you got to make the best of it. And Rob, they're a silly team, and he's silly. He's young, so maybe that's part of it. But there's a time to get serious. And now I'm challenging Anthony Edwards to get serious and to lead. If he can lead this team, Rob, just help them stay near the top of the West for the rest of the regular season and make a medium-sized playoff run. They don't even have to go that deep. But if he does go deep without Karl-Anthony Towns, then he will be primed to become one of the critical and key or crucial faces of the league. He's got the ability to do it. And so that's what I want to see him do, Rob, is take this and say, you know what, I'm going to put the team on my back and lead us, because he is their leader, and lead us as far as we can go.
It'll be a big deal if he's able to do that. And I can't say they don't miss a beat, because you can't lose somebody of that ilk.
Right.
But if he can still make them viable, Chris, and they don't crash and burn, it'll say a lot about him and his ability. If they go in the tank, then you're going to be like, okay, this is about Towns, right? Not about Ant-Man.
Yeah, I think people understand Ant is the best player. Because remember, this team didn't do much until he kind of seized the day and became that guy, became their leader. And he is the one, the strongest personality there and all of that. But he's only 22. So it's a lot to ask of a guy that's only 22 years old. But to your point, if they do crash and burn, people will look at him and say, okay, he's not quite as good as we thought, or he's just not ready yet.
Right.
But either way, it's not what you want.
I'm not saying this is bad news or anything's terrible or whatever, but they're playing now, the T-Wolves.
The Pacers, yeah.
Right. Ant-Man just hobbled off with a twisted ankle.
Oh, gosh.
Chris.
I
don't know how severe it is. I'm just giving you just twisted ankle.
Right. All right. 877-99 on Fox. 877-996-6369. Your turn to weigh in. Hopefully Anthony Edwards doesn't join Karl-Anthony Towns on the injured list, so to speak. But looks like Anthony Edwards will be okay. Kind of turned his ankle on a move right at the start of the game. But he's out of the locker room, and hopefully he'll get back in this game. But thankfully it doesn't look too serious.
All right. If you want to jump in, 877-99 on Fox. Justin in Tucson, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Justin?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my phone call. We're getting some much-needed rain here in the desert. It's always a pleasure to talk with you guys. It's a shame what happened to Karl-Anthony Towns, and I hope he's okay. But, Chris, you said something that I want to ask you a little bit more about. If Ant-Man is expected to step up and he's 22 years old, what is, when you're drafted 18, 19 years old in the league, what is the expectation that you are going to eventually step up and be that leader? I know it's different from other folks, but
I don't think I wouldn't say he's expected. I'm just saying it's because he's still very young. I'm just saying it would be great if he could, and it's an opportunity. Like if he does seize the moment and do that, then it'll propel his stardom to great heights. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Right.
LeBron was 22 and led the Cavs to the finals. But look, as good as Anthony Edwards is, nobody's mistaking him for LeBron James. So, outside of that, the only people to win at this age had superstar teammates. Magic with Kareem, Kobe with Shaq. So it's rare. And I'm not saying, and I don't think anybody would expect him to lead them to the finals. But I'm saying I don't even think people expect it to the conference finals. But if he just gets them to the second round, or if he really got them to the conference finals, then now he goes to another level. But I don't think it's expected, right? As good as he is, I don't think it's expected.
Not at all. I mean, anybody who thinks that would put that on a 22-year-old.
Yeah, he's only in his fourth year.
Right. And
again, it's not like your fourth year when you come in at 21 years old. He came in at 18. So he's still very young in his fourth year.
Big time. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they can do, Chris, to try to just not have a collapse is what you don't want.
Right.
That's all. Just not a collapse. Rob G, you got something?
I got a question for you guys. So we're all assuming that with Cat being out, even if he gets the trim instead of the removal instead of the surgery trim, that he's out until the playoffs, right? Or the rest of the season for the most part.
Right.
So let's say they flame out, which would not be unexpected. This offseason, between three centers, Towns, Gobert, and their backup Naz Reid, those three guys combined to make $105 million. Do you think that even though it's due to injury that they kind of flame out in this scenario, that their front office could decide, you know what, it's just too much money. The second Abram's a killer. We got to break it up so that we're not spending $100+ million on a center in a pace and space era?
Well, one, they did it. They signed all three of those guys or traded for them when they were already signed.
And when they're healthy, they're rolling. Why? They're going to go backwards?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Rob. Rob G.
Rob G, right.
But Gobert is not going to be easy to trade with his big contract. And to be honest, Karl-Anthony Towns wouldn't that be that easy to trade? And I would trade him if I got somebody better, but there's very few that are better. But outside of that, I'm not trading Cat. So Naz Reid, okay, he's a backup. Might be the best backup big man in the league, but a backup. And so, I mean, what are you going to get for Naz Reid? Could you trade him? Sure. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not as simple. I think, one, their mindset was that this would work and this was needed because they paid the guys or brought them to the team.
We questioned it the first year. It didn't work.
Right. I mean, Gobert has been seen, and Rudy Gobert has had a very nice career. But the challenge for Gobert is that we've seen his teams, whether it was in Utah and now you got Minnesota, have really nice regular seasons and then struggle in the playoffs. Not get past the second round in the playoffs because he can be exploited in the pick and roll or the pick and pop. And so I would say he'd have to show that he's not going to get exploited this postseason for people to really, want to add him at that type of salary. They'd have to feel like he's going to be the missing link to get them over the top. So